In 2014, on an ordinary morning on Governor's Island, leading experts and volunteers stood with shovels in front of mountains of discarded oyster shells. They were not cleaning up trash, they were washing all of them, then dumping them back into the sea. And it did not stop there, because there were still many other mountains of oyster shells at different locations. They were working toward the goal of returning 1 billion oysters to New York Harbor by 2035. After 10 years, they had accelerated the effort to release 100 million oysters each year. The effects they created attracted attention from around the world. Based on official data and archival documents from the Billion Oyster Project, the New York City Department of Environmental Protection, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, this is a completely true story. It is the story of one of the world's most modern megacities, which, after a century of pollution and concrete urban development, is now releasing oysters to establish a new model for urban conservation. To understand why this project is so important, we must first understand how important oysters once were to this city. Before New York became the big city, it was once a big oyster. In 1609, New York Harbor contained half of the world's oyster supply. Oysters were a common food, eaten for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, just like pizza or hot dogs today. But overharvesting, combined with sewage, urban waste, and chemicals from urbanization, caused the oyster population to collapse. In 1927, the last commercial oyster bed was closed. Although the Clean Water Act was passed in 1972 and helped improve water quality, oysters still could not return because most of the natural coastline had already been covered with concrete. Of course, we do not need oysters to return so we can eat them, but because of their environmental impact, experts have shown that before oysters disappeared, the aquatic ecosystem was operating at its most dynamic and efficient level. If you want to understand the consequences, look at 2012, when Superstorm Sandy struck New York. Storm surge and powerful waves overwhelmed coastal infrastructure, killing 44 people and causing around $19 billion in economic damage. Scientists believe that if natural oyster reefs had still existed, the level of destruction could have been only a small fraction of what actually happened. So, can we simply bring them back? But who would bring the oysters back, and where would it even begin? The answer doesn't come from a large corporation or scientist, but from the century-long collaboration of a school director and an aquarist. In 2003, Murray Fisher founded the New York Harbor School on Governor's Island, a special public high school where students did not only learn in the classroom, they learned directly from the harbor, from boats, from the water, and from marine life. There, Murray met Pete Malinowski, a man who grew up in an oyster farming family. Pete did not see oysters simply as food. He once shared that oysters are living creatures capable of rebuilding a habitat if humans create the right conditions. At first, nothing about it seemed grand. Pete and a few students began in an empty room in the basement of Fort J using a plastic tank of about 30 gallons. They collected water from New York Harbor, placed about 30,000 oyster larvae into it, and waited to see what would happen. That small experiment showed that oysters could still survive in New York. From the foundation of the Harbor School, in 2014, Murray Fisher and Pete Malinowski officially co-founded the Billion Oyster Project. Their goal was very clear: to restore 1 billion oysters to New York Harbor by 2035. According to the Billion Oyster Project, this effort was built on one simple belief: restoration without education is difficult to sustain. Today, the project has restored many oyster reef sites across all 5 boroughs of New York, brought more than 100 million oysters back into the water, and is moving toward the ability to restore tens of millions of young oysters each year. Matt Hare from Cornell University once noted that in some years, the environmental conditions are harsher, but survival rates have still been fairly good. In recent years, they have also observed more and more young oysters appearing. But what impact have they had on the aquatic ecosystem here? First of all, oysters are filter feeders. They pull water through their bodies, trap tiny particles such as algae, plankton, and organic matter, and then return cleaner water back into the environment. One adult oyster can filter about 50 gallons of water per day, almost the same amount of water in a large bathtub. This is something no other species can do in the same way. Of course, modern machines can do it, but they require a lot of money to operate. That is why the Billion Oyster Project is not just about bringing one species back. They are trying to restore a natural water filtration system for New York Harbor. If they reach the goal of 1 billion oysters, this population could filter a very large portion of the harbor's water in just a few days. Oysters are social creatures. They're attracted to the calcium carbonate from each other's shells, so they grow on top of one another, creating strong organic oyster reefs. According to data from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, these reefs are like natural apartment buildings for small fish, crabs, shrimp, sea anemones, and many other marine species. And there is something even more important. Do you remember the storm in 2012? Why can oysters help block storm damage? When major storms or powerful waves strike, the rough structure of oyster reefs absorbs and breaks up wave energy, protecting the shoreline from erosion and helping coastal communities stand stronger against natural disasters. Not only that, protecting the shoreline also helps preserve nearby ecosystems such as marshes and seagrass beds, which are extremely important carbon sinks in the fight against global climate change. Clearly, bringing oysters back is not just about cleaning the water. It is about rebuilding a living shield and creating a greener, safer future for New York. Returning to the progress of the project, in order to turn the goal of 1 billion oysters into reality, the project needs a massive number of oyster shells to serve as homes for young oysters. They found an extremely smart solution. Can you guess where they get the oyster shells from? From restaurant tables. Today, the project is working with about 80 restaurants, both large and small, across New York. One of its first strategic partners is the famous seafood market, The Lobster Place, which goes through as many as 20,000 oysters every week and also helps collect discarded oyster shells. David Seigel, the culinary director there, excitedly shared, "This is a symbiotic relationship where both sides benefit. We have a supply of discarded oyster shells and they need them to build ecological reefs. To help you picture the process more easily, imagine it as a chain of events. First, after diners finish eating, the oyster shells, instead of being thrown into landfills, are collected and transported to storage sites, with Governor's Island being one key example. There, they are piled into giant outdoor mountains and left to cure under the sun and wind for up to 1 year. Do you wonder why they have to wait so long? Sunlight is the cheapest and most effective natural cleaning agent. It helps break down all leftover organic material while completely killing harmful parasites and pathogens. Once the shells are completely clean, they're placed into special tanks that have been converted from old shipping containers. Harbor water is pumped in, and millions of natural oyster larvae are released into the tanks. These tiny creatures swim around and then choose the clean oyster shells as a solid place to attach themselves. After just a few weeks, once the young oysters have settled into their new homes, all of these shell clusters are placed by volunteers into restoration areas on the seafloor. There, they come together, attach to existing reefs, and quickly grow into strong, healthy adult oysters, continuing their mission of filtering the water and breaking up waves to protect the megacity of New York. A great plan like this cannot be carried out by just a few scientists in a laboratory. They need a much larger force. Do you remember that one of the co-founders was a school director? Students from all 5 boroughs of New York who want to study here must go through a competitive lottery system. The school offers 6 career training programs. What makes it special is that throughout their years in school, 100% of the students directly contribute their own effort to the Billion Oyster Project. If you ever have the chance to visit Governor's Island, you will see students every week building apartment-like homes for oysters with their own hands, operating small boats out on the water, diving down to the sea floor, or controlling remote survey equipment to inspect oyster reefs. According to official data from the Billion Oyster Project, this STEM education program has connected with and engaged more than 20,000 students from kindergarten through 12th grade, while also building strategic partnerships with more than 100 schools across New York City. The students do not work alone. Around them are teachers, scientists, technicians, local residents, retirees, company employees, and thousands of volunteers. Some come to wash oyster shells, some come to build frames, construct reef structures, and sort materials. Some take boats out to restoration sites, others help monitor data. This dedication has grown so large that it has spread strongly into the business community. For example, in 2022, the global financial company Swiss Re chose the Billion Oyster Project as its charity of the year, bringing in 3 years of long-term funding from the Swiss Reef Foundation, along with thousands of volunteer service hours from the company's employees. You know, setbacks and improvements are necessary in every major project. At first, the project used metal cages to hold the oysters and monitor them. But in a saltwater environment, metal rusts easily, breaks down over time, and is not always suitable for long-term survival. So the project had to change. They began using more durable structures, including concrete reef balls that are friendly to the marine environment. These blocks have many small openings and rough surfaces, helping young oysters attach more easily, while also creating shelter for fish, crabs, and many other small creatures. Some reef blocks can weigh more than 200 pounds and are designed to remain underwater for a long time as part of the harbor's new seafloor. So far, these persistent efforts have brought clear results. More than 3 million pounds of oyster shells have been collected, 17 acres of oyster reefs have been restored, and more than 150 million oysters have been returned to the ocean. Of course, counting every single oyster is not easy, so they chose a smarter method. Working with more than 15 local laboratories and organizations, they continuously test the water for 20 weeks each year. The goal is to monitor the level of bacterial pollution from the sewage system after each rainfall. So far, community scientists have collected more than 12,000 water samples at 139 locations and established around 200 research stations across New York Harbor. Now, just by looking at the water, you can see that it has become much clearer, and life has truly returned. Today, when they pull oyster cages out of the water, they see sea grapes, slipper snails, sponges, and small crustaceans such as grass shrimp and mud crabs. Pete Malinowski even found seahorses, creatures extremely sensitive to water quality, wrapping their tails around the frame of a cage. The greatest ecological success is that we are seeing more and more wild oysters appearing in more places each year, Pete Malinowski confirmed. The final goal, as Dr. Matt Hare from Cornell University shared, is not to try to recreate the past exactly as it was hundreds of years ago, but to build a self-sustaining oyster population that can continuously reproduce on its own without the need for human intervention or support from hatcheries. Each season, a female oyster can lay between 50 and 100 million eggs, opening up huge potential for natural evolution. The goal of 1 billion oysters is still ahead, and after this year or next year, they will continue to accelerate the number to 100 million oysters per year. However, this journey still faces major challenges from the urban environment. One of them is sediment buildup caused by coastal erosion, which covers the hard surfaces on the bay floor where young oysters must attach in order to survive. Pollution from urban fertilizers also stimulates the growth of toxic algae, seriously reducing oxygen levels in the water. It did not stop at the harbor. This model has expanded into another large-scale green infrastructure project called Living Breakwaters on Staten Island. Do you remember Superstorm Sandy in 2012? Just like the oyster restoration effort, this project was also strongly inspired by the destruction it caused. Working closely with the Billion Oyster Project, the project is building half-mile-long breakwaters that are partially covered with recycled oyster shells. Architect Kate Orff emphasized, "The most important solution is reconnecting all parts of the landscape, from upland forest to coastal reefs, creating safer places for water to flow into." The key point that helps both of these projects succeed in the long term is that they are not only building rock reefs, they are also training future generations of stewards for New York's waterways through a network of more than 100 partner schools. This creativity has turned New York into an urban conservation model that is attracting attention around the world. In September 2024, during Climate Week, London Mayor Sadiq Khan personally took a motorboat along the Hudson River to see the oyster cages in Brooklyn with his own eyes, in order to evaluate whether this model could be applied to revive the River Thames in England. However, the story of ecological restoration is not simple. The project constantly faces the challenge of huge funding needs because the costs of boats, equipment, staffing, and long-term monitoring are extremely expensive. The biggest challenge comes from legal issues and social management. Since harbor water is still polluted, the oysters here absolutely cannot be eaten. This creates a major public health risk if people illegally harvest the oysters and sell them on the consumer market. For that reason, regulatory agencies must monitor the project extremely strictly. Clearly, simply putting oysters back into the water does not automatically make everything better. It requires laws, money, and the shared commitment of the entire community. Looking at the bigger picture, these projects have proven that climate change is a global problem, but solutions always begin with local action. In a world where environmental crises often feel so massive that they become discouraging, this story reminds us that recovery can begin with the smallest things: discarded oyster shells from restaurants, a volunteer shovel. What do you think about this incredibly unique model of urban conservation? Could it be applied to the rivers or coastal waters in your own hometown? Leave your thoughts in the comments below so we can discuss it together. And if you love inspiring stories about the environment and real-world science like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next videos. Thank you for watching.